Hello, thanks for joining me today. I am so happy to have you on board. And today I want to talk about the power of reading. I've often described reading as the gateway to all forms of creativity. And this is a lesson I learned very early on in life. I remember my vice principal back in secondary school created a small club called the Reading and Writing Club and made me the head of that club. And the reason was that he saw in me the desire to read and, not just reading, but, taking delight in what I read and also trying to share what I read with other people and how that was reflecting in my writing. And therefore, he made me the head of the reading and writing club. And that is something I've cultivated throughout my life. And I've made sure that as long as I have breath of life, I continue to read and to learn and to develop. That is something I want to encourage you about because I've seen power in reading. I have reaped the benefit of reading, and it is something that is transformational. When you read, it's going to transform your mind and it's going to do a lot of things. And those are the things I want to highlight in today's video. And the very first thing is, I just want you to ask yourself, when was the last time you read a book or an article in a newspaper or on the internet? When was the last time you really persisted and read maybe a book to the end or an article to the end? I know a lot of us, we can say, well, I read. And some people who are quite honest with themselves, they would say, I read. I rarely. Some would say often. Some would say sometimes. But what I'm talking about here is cultivating a habit of reading because it's beneficial for you. So you want to read and make sure that you read significantly throughout the day, throughout the week, the month, and even in a year. And one of the things is really cultivating the spirit of self-discipline. If you don't have discipline, it's absolutely going to be difficult for you to sit down and read a book to the end or read an article to the end. And I have seen this phenomenon online where people are simply clicking and reading just maybe the first sentence. Some don't even read. There has to be something that is attractive before people can even read a line in an article or in a post. Even on Facebook, on Twitter, people don't read. People just simply skim through. And so we go through, we're bombarded with a lot of information, and it's actually so difficult to boast of reading something that is worthwhile and transformational. And so it is absolutely important that you have this habit of reading. If you are one of the countless people who don't make a habit of reading, you might want to stick around and you just learn something. And I want to believe that there might be something you're missing if you're not reading. And that's why I want to talk about the power of reading, because reading has done a lot for me. It can do a lot for you. And for those of you who are already reading and making it a habit, congratulations, you're doing the right thing. But if you can stick around, you would also learn quite a few things that can motivate you to read even more. So the very first thing I wanted to talk about is the knowledge you get from reading. There are tons of things to learn, and I even believe very strongly that in your lifetime, you might not even have an opportunity to learn as much as you can if you're not reading. So there is so much information out there, and the only people who are going to benefit from that information are the people who can read. And when you read, that's when you can find the information. So everything you read, it fills your heart with new bits of information. So you are building a wealth of knowledge when you're reading. You never know when that might come in handy. You never know when that might be important for you. So the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to tackle the challenges that life is going to throw your way. You're going to face those challenges head on and with confidence because you have adequate knowledge. So reading is very important as it's going to help you to build that knowledge that would be necessary down the road in your life. So I've often heard people say knowledge is power, and that's very true. But I've also gone a step further to opine that true wisdom is the application of knowledge. So when you have knowledge, then you have to seek ways to apply that in your life, and applying that in ways that benefit you and people in your community and people in your sphere of influence. So the second thing is vocabulary expansion. You find people who just have a particular train of thought and they express themselves in ways that are always familiar, right? So if you don't read, you're stuck with just a few words in your life, and that limited vocabulary is something that impede a lot of people when it comes to communication. So when you read, you expand your vocabulary, you build new words, you learn new words, and you build your vocabulary in a way that you're interacting with the text that you read, and the way you learn to express yourself in different ways. So you could have tons of different ways to say the same thing, and it makes you quite an interesting person, right? People want to stick around people who are expressive, who are articulate, people who can speak and inspire them. And that is something that when you read, you can always cultivate. And if you find yourself maybe feeling bored to yourself sometimes, you may want to re-examine your reading plan and your reading habits and make sure that you're doing the right things. Friends, it's also about what you're reading. So read things that are motivating, things that would challenge your intellect, things that would push you to want to learn. And make sure when you read, you have a dictionary alongside. Don't claim you know everything, and don't allow words to fly past on the top of your head. Make sure that you can assimilate the things that you're learning by doing what I call peruse. You peruse through the text. You're not just skimming through the text, but you're interacting with your text and enjoying what you read. And in a way, in that sense, you build your vocabulary, and you can be able to express yourself and be as articulate as you can possibly be. And so the other thing is memory improvement. So when you read, you reap this benefit of improving your memory. Your memory is something that can be improved. I remember back in the day, I used to struggle a lot to remember the things I read, especially in exams. After reading for months, sometimes years, and going into an examination hall, sometimes I struggle to retain the things I have read. And the reason is that my memory back then was quite limiting, because I had not gone an extra mile to seek ways to expand it. And the way to expand it is through reading, effective reading. When you read, you expand your memory. Your memory is something it's elastic in a sense. And the more information you are absorbing into your memory, the more you expand your memory and give it expand its capacity also to retain what you read. So if you find yourself struggling with remembering things, you may want to also do more reading, because the more you read, the more information you're able to retain. But much more, it expands your intellect. Like I said, reading is the gateway to all forms of creativity. It expands your intellect. It helps you to be able to just be different in the way you comport, in the way you put yourself out there. So reading is quite a tool for us to embrace. And moving forward, reading is going to enhance your analytical skills. It boosts your analytical skills. Sometimes when we speak, we might be so plain, and we might not be able to connect our thoughts and portray meaning in our thoughts and in the words that we are uttering. But when you read, you learn new ways to be expressive, but not only being expressive, but you can build your own narrative. You can build your own agenda using words. And this, I say, can only come with reading. So when you read, you're going to be finding ways to put complex sentences together in your own way of writing, and being able to maybe make an argument and be persuasive but much more be analytical, so you're not just embracing things as they are. You're able to challenge other people's thoughts and your own thoughts in the way you write and in the way you speak, and therefore people find you quite interesting, quite articulate, and quite critical. So you are not just someone who accepts things at their face value, but you seek to challenge the things you read, and you seek also to challenge the things you hear. That's what reading is going to do for you. It's going to make your analytical skills even stronger, because I believe we have a measure of analytical skills in us. We have, it's inborn, so you can always make it stronger, and you can always come out on the top of everything in the way you make your arguments. So another thing is that reading improves on your level of focus and concentration. There are people who cannot sit for a moment and just be still and focus and get something done. So the way I've been able to improve on my concentration levels and my focus levels is that I've cultivated the habit of reading. And so when I read, I'm training myself to be disciplined and to sit down and focus and get something, read. And in that way, I'm also able to sit down and focus and get something done. So if you don't read, you will find that you have very, short attention spans. So you are not able to concentrate and focus on a particular thing. You're easily distracted. You're easily persuaded and swept, as it were, by the wind in the shore, like sand being moved along the shores. So you don't want to be that kind of person who is easily moved, but someone who can focus and someone who can concentrate. So the internet is there, and as I said earlier, it can be overwhelming. But when you cultivate a habit of reading, you don't allow yourself to be bombarded and overwhelmed by information that we get on the internet. You are consciously or unconsciously training yourself to be selective in the things that you want to read as well. So it's going to increase your attention span. It's going to increase your ability to focus and get things done. Another thing I want to talk about here is that you develop better writing skills. This cannot be overemphasized. So if you want to write effectively, you have to read. And the reason is that if you don't read what other people are writing, you'll be stuck in a bubble of your own where you think you're the best writer, whereas you are actually not. So when you read, you see how other people have been able to communicate effectively, and you can learn from their own expressions. You can learn from their own style. You can learn from the way they have analyzed situations. So reading does this for you. It equips you with the ability to write effectively and to write persuasively as well. So so your pen becomes more fluid the more you read. But you become a redundant writer if you don't read. And I mean, it's as easy as that if you don't read, you can't be a good writer. So good writers are people who have read lots of books, who have read lots of materials, and they are able to filter that out in their own, original thoughts and original writings, and it's reflected, So it's a combination of the things you've read, the things that the text that you've interacted with, that produces, great written materials or text of your own. So if you're someone who doesn't read, rest assured you will find it very difficult to write. So reading is, again, like I have reiterated throughout this video, is the gateway to all forms of creativity. When you read, you become creative in a sense that your mind is being exposed to new information, new ideas, new methods, and you're challenging your own status quo, and you can be able to find ways to do things differently. And someone has said that insanity is doing the same things over and over and expecting different results. So it comes a point in life where you want to do things differently, and the way to do things differently is to read and learn new information so you can implement that in your own life. And overall, when you read, you can become a better leader. If you don't read, you cannot lead. So when you read, you're going to gather all of the things we've done, and these are the things that will determine whether or not you're going to be a good leader. With your analytical skills, your writing skills, your ability to focus and concentrate and get things done, and just also the ability to speak. You see good leaders from the way they can speak, but it goes beyond speaking to all the other things that I have highlighted in this video. So a good leader is a good reader. A good leader is someone who spends time reading, because you cannot lead if you don't read. You're going to be reading reports, you're going to be reading materials about the position, and even just as maybe at the level of your household, if you're just maybe a head of a household, maybe a female or a male head of a household, you should be able to read, and you should be able to lead effectively. So effective readers are effective leaders. That's my own theory here. You could challenge that, but to an extent, you would find truth in what I'm saying. And I want to encourage you to get down, start building your own library, start reading materials out there. The internet is already like a great asset for us. It's a library like no one has ever seen. So you can find almost any materials you want on the internet. You can read those. You can buy books. You can borrow books from the library. You can build a library of your own. You might be saying, oh, but I don't know how to read. You wouldn't know how to read if you cannot start practicing how to read. I know a lot of people feel like you have to be educated to read. That's not true. If you commit yourself to start to read and find materials that are even, very simple, and start reading those, you will find yourself gradually but surely having that ability to read and assimilate more complex materials. So you have to start from somewhere. And if you feel like your education isn't enough for you to be an effective reader, that is not true. That's simply not true. That is a lie. You have to challenge that thought and know that you can become an effective reader. You can even become more effective than people who've gone to school and have PhDs. You can challenge that, and you can raise your own bar so high and be able to hold yourself accountable. So when you read, you're going to increase your net worth. I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking in terms of knowledge. So you can increase your net worth by the materials you read and by the things that you are assimilating into your brain and into your mind. And to end, sometimes I've been in situations where I simply don't know if I'm going to be able to find the right words to express myself. But before you notice, things start to pop up from your subconscious mind, things you had read even years ago, and you find yourself using those things. So your brain, your mind is a strong tool, and it's a great warehouse where things are stored, sometimes consciously or unconsciously. And you can be rest assured that nothing you read is going to go to waste. It will be useful down the road in one way or another. Thank you for watching today. If you've been blessed by today's video, please share it and subscribe to my channel, and keep watching out for educative materials, and may God bless you.